Hey everybody, welcome to the show. Welcome to the show, everybody. I've got both cameras going and I'm cheating and I'm looking over at my stream over there, over on my little phone. That way I can see how many of you are joining. I'm just hanging out today. Um, I'm going to start doing this show a little bit differently, I think, on Wednesdays. So I have been doing a show here on Choppertown for 5 years now, and sometimes they're from live event. The past year, obviously, they have not been from live event because there's been no live events. That's pretty straightforward, right? So I have been doing this studio show. I've been doing the news. I've put all these slides together and all these things and stuff. And it's really hard to produce, at least one, if not two shows a week, and the theme and what we're going to talk about. And there's a whole bunch of other shows on here on Choppertown that already cover the news and stuff like that. Hey Moses, what's going on? John Hill, Moses from Daytona, one of our regular viewers. Thanks for stopping by. Um, Anywho, and there's a whole bunch of other shows on here that do news and things, and I was like, well, how many of us channels, do you want to watch talk about the Pan America? And I had this really great conversation with Zach Kaufman yesterday, and I'm following along in the chat so you guys can peek in and say hey. Hello from Romania. Hey Dan, what's going on out there? I had this really great conversation with Zach, who's the big boss here at Choppertown and has owned this page for a million years, and we've been friends since 2005 or 2006. And he was like, just change the show. You're overthinking it. You're doing too much work. It's just you doing it. Change it up. Like, let's turn it into something that's a little bit more casual, something that's a little bit more laid back, where we all just hang out and talk motorcycles. Steve Davis from Maine, one of my regular watchers on here. Hey Steve, thanks for tuning in. And Dan Vanson, another one of my regulars out here. Thanks for tuning in, buddy. I appreciate you saying hey. So anyway, he's like, get on and just start talking to everybody. And I'm like, well, I mean, that's cool. And I like talking to you guys. And I'll peek in and always say hey to you in the comments. Hey, Nigel from the UK, what's going on over there? Um, and Dan, do you have crummy weather down there in Tennessee? It's been spectacular up here, but super cold the next 3 days. Um, and I was like, I'm just not comfortable just talking into a camera like these webcam girls, right? That get on. And so just to humor him, I even got on last night and cruised through some of the gaming sites and was looking at some of the, streamers over there and the women streamers. And I mean, it's scandalous. I'm not gonna lie. Like, there's a lot of TNA going on. That's not really my thing. God bless. They gotta do what they gotta do. And I was like, well, maybe I'll do a show where I just put up like one picture, not 25 pictures, and we just talk about that one picture. And those pictures maybe come from, like, I mean, obviously they're my photos, so they're gonna come from the history of my history with motorcycles, not just the history of motorcycles, but the history of my history with motorcycles. That's kind of a mouthful. Did that make any sense? So that's what I think I'm going to turn this show into. So I titled it Wayback Wednesday, and I'm going to just post a photo. This also was spurred because I was talking to a gentleman named Michael Lichter and Chris Summer Simmons, who do stream over here on the channel. They do a really fun show. I think it's on Tuesday nights. Anywho, they reached out. They want me to be a guest on it, which is cool. It's a podcast and a vlog, and I got looking through my archives. I got looking through all my old pictures, and so kind of stirred it up a little bit. Like, let's talk about, because I mean, I just there's a lot of stuff in there, man. There's 15 years of motorcycling in there, so there's lots of pictures. There's lots of travel. There's lots of really low quality, shitty pictures because it's from the Wayback Machine. So you got to bear with me. And so I kind of thought, maybe that's what the show will turn into. Maybe that's the show that I'll start doing on Wednesdays. So, again, if you're just now tuning in, thanks for joining me. This is going to be the Wayback Wednesday with Jacqui Van Ham. This is my storyteller show, and I'm going to put up a picture every week, and we're going to talk about it. And so today's kind of theme, as it were, because I have to have a theme. I have to have boundaries. I can't just come on here and just start talking, even though God knows I'm a talker. So I like to have a theme, and so the theme for this week is going to be one of my. Actually, this is my first bike. It's my first bike, technically, as an adult. So we're going to talk about first bikes out here. Richard Day from Maine, another Maine viewer. What's going on out there? Robert Bowles. Hello, Jackie, hitting up from Pennsylvania. What's going on over there, Robert? Thanks for tuning in. Um, all of our regular watchers out here. Patrick from Long Beach. Gosh, that sounds sunny and nice right now. That being said, though, I cannot complain because I get on a plane. So this weekend I'm going to be in Indiana. I'm going to be with a race company called RPM Promotions in Shipshewana. Is that right? Shipshewana? Tell me in the comments if I got any Indiana watchers. Shipshewana, Indiana. It's way up north near the border with Michigan, but it's an indoor dirt track ring, and he's doing motorcycle racing and quad racing, and there's going to be just tons of kick-ass stuff. The Easter Bunny is gonna be there, and he reached out to me last week because he was in a little bit of a pinch. We've worked together before. He's rad. I'm gonna be doing an event with him in May already, but he was like, "Can you come up and announce these races this weekend, and come say hey to everybody and come hang out with the Easter Bunny?" And I said, "Yes, of course." This weekend I'll be in Shipshewana, but next week I go to Florida to work with BMW for 2 weeks. I'm super pumped. The weather's gonna be killer, but anyway, that was going way ahead of myself for today's show. James, thanks for tuning in. Dan Benson again, gonna be 30. I know, I had to bring my plants in. You are the greatest. Thanks, buddy. I appreciate you. Ellen, thank you for the positive vibes. Michelle from France, bonjour. Who else is in here? James from Boise, Idaho. Thanks for peeking in and saying hey. So I've got my little co-hosts here next to me. As always, I've got my little wiener dogs. So if you see them crawling around, that's who's going on back there. My little dogs, Dewey, who will be 9 months old this week, and Willie, who's a rescue. So I'm guessing is maybe around 2 years old. My little wiener dogs are hanging out with me. But let's get down to the program. As always, you can go check out my Jacqui Van Ham page here on the Facebooks. It is Jacqui Van Ham Official. Go give me a like and a follow over there. I throw all of my videos and work stuff and rad stuff I do in the motorcycling industry lives over there. So head on over there. Last thing before we get started on the show, I just wanted to remind you because Zach brought it up. And this was really interesting to me. So there's that new button on your screen. It's at the bottom. So there's the share button, which you should be hitting right now, and then there's also the stars button. And I was like, stars? What are stars? So stars are like a digital, well, they're currency. They become money, but they're digital tip. So if you like my show and you want to go ahead and throw me some stars, they do add up. Zach is, I'm not gonna lie, for 2020 especially, my work situation has been very quiet, and I have not applied for any of the stimulus money just because I'm an independent contractor. I didn't really know how to do it. So I mean, it's just been a thing, right? And everybody's struggling. I'm not saying that I'm struggling more than anybody else, but Zach has been throwing me some of that tip money, which has been totally keeping the lights on around here and a really big deal. I super appreciate it. So if you take a second and throw me some stars, a digital tip for the show, I really appreciate that. It is the button at the bottom of the screen. So, and I think they're like 5 cents a piece. So, go crazy. Throw me like 100 stars. Why not? So for today's show, let's talk about it. So for the first slide, or the only slide, like I said, we're just keeping it simple today. We're just talking out here on the show. The slide that I wanted to pick up today or post today and talk about is this super old, super low res photo of me on my first bike. This is my 1964 Honda Dream 305. It is a little white cream puff. It was absolutely beautiful. I had the biggest crush on this bike for a super long time. Hey, Mary from Ohio, thanks for tuning in. Carrie from Arizona. Hey, Robert, triple nickel shirt. Thank you. This is a buddy of mine who is a vintage motorcycle racer out on the West Coast. Her name is Stacy London, and she is also excellent and super rad. But thank you. I appreciate it. I had to throw it on and give her a little bit of love today on the show. So the slide on your screen, like I said, is a 1964 Honda Dream 305, and it's got the big swoopy fenders on it, just super cream puff. Very vintage style. I just really love this bike. The very first motorcycle that ever caught my eye as an adult, from going to Mid Ohio Vintage Days, honestly was I mean, it definitely is like this genre, but to be really, really honest, my first bike I ever threw a leg over and had somebody like take a picture of me on, which is how you know you really love a bike, was a Honda Cub. I know, right? Like a little step through, a little passport, a little Cub. So I have always had like total Honda, vintage Honda love. I love the look of them. The Cub is just because it's super little and light and kind of utility, and you can put a rack on the back and carry stuff. The Dream is just elegant. It's got those big swoopy fenders on it, like I keep mentioning. Just a really beautiful little bike. It was, and is. I mean, it's not dead. It's not a dinosaur. It's a 305cc bike. It's technically dead, but that's a little bit more story a little bit later on in the show. It's technically dead, but at this time that this picture was taken, I believe I can't remember who took this picture. This is either in Chicago, so this would have been like 2003, 2002, 2003. Um, it was either in Chicago or when I had just moved to Louisville, Kentucky. I don't really remember which. I apologize. I was totally poverty rider, so you can see that I am wearing just jeans and cheap, crappy boots, literally from Payless. I didn't have a lot of money. I was a little young whippersnapper. I didn't have a lot of cash. I was not all about that gear life, so you can see that I'm just wearing a t-shirt, but I do have gloves on, so at least I'm kind of sort of doing it right. Um, and a little helmet from Davida Helmet Company in England, a little vintage pudding bowl style helmet because I loved all that vintage style. Jennifer Sky, what's going on from Ontario? Thanks for tuning into the show. Let me go through these comments and come say hey to some of you guys. So yeah, I was all about that vintage style. I loved that Davida. I actually had that Davida helmet before I even had this motorcycle. That's how gung ho I was about this Davida helmet. Have you ever seen these helmets, these little pudding bowl helmets? They're still for sale. Technically they're just a novelty. They're not DOT rated, but I didn't give a shit. I just loved the look of it. I loved this like vintage cafe racer type vibe going on. I just thought I was a total rock and roller, and I love this bike. And I rode it a little bit in Chicago. I didn't ride a whole lot in Chicago because I didn't live there for very long with this bike, but I did ride a little bit. Um, but the potholes are crazy in Chicago. The streets are awful. The cars will cut you off at a moment's notice. Like, it just isn't super cool to ride in town. I mean, it's okay. It's fun and it makes sense. Scooters and things make sense for in town, but I was kind of like womp womp about it, and the weather is terrible. So by that point, I think I'd already started thinking about moving to Kentucky and yada yada yada. And so I moved down here to Kentucky with it. Um, and was living in Kentucky like I still am. I'm here in Louisville. And I rode around a little bit. I had another woman rider, as I was riding up and down one of the main drags here, like flag me down and ask me who the hell I was because there was no other women riders at the time in town on vintage bikes, and she was on a vintage. Was she on a vintage, either a Honda or BMW? And her name is Sarah Lyons, and she is a super well known and well respected photographer, and we became fast friends, pun intended, and became buddies. And she helped introduce me to some of the vintage bike crew here in Louisville, and I helped make friends with her through her and with her. And she's just super, super rad and a great, awesome human being. Hey, Paul, thank you. I appreciate it. I try to. Actually, I didn't really try. This is. I ran a brush through my hair and brushed my teeth. um, but so it was rad to meet her, and that's how I met everybody here in Louisville. That was my very first friend here, and she was also and is a vintage motorcycle nerd and a mechanic and does all sorts of kick-ass stuff, and took me to the coolest bike shop here in town that specializes in um, vintage import especially. There's a couple other new shops now, but that shop is called Magnum, and it's still here and operating here in Louisville, Kentucky. Their backyard is one of the most kick-ass hoard piles of vintage bike nerdy stuff I've ever seen. It's a hoot to go dig through. It's completely crazy. It's just piles and piles of parts everywhere. And then shortly after I moved here, probably within like the first year, maybe 6 months, I lived here with this bike. I was riding home. I was working in the bar industry. I was bartending and waiting tables, and I was riding home from work one night. It was pretty late. And I was riding up the main street here called Bardstown Road. And it's, there's always, it was, I think it was on a Thursday or Friday. So it was super, super busy. There's lots of traffic. Hi, Nigel. Yeah, I'm good. I'm super good. I just am, like I said, I'm just doing today's kind of storyteller Wayback Wednesday show. And then I have some errands to run today, and I got to get ready, and I go out of town. I drive up to Shipshewana, Indiana, Friday morning. So I'm just kind of doing some errands and hang out with you guys today. So anywho, I was riding home and it was late and there's traffic, and it's Bardstown Road here in Louisville is this big like bar and restaurant row. And I got hit from behind by a drunk driver. And it knocked me underneath the car. I ended up getting kind of hung up on the front bumper and dragged for like 150 some yards. I did, thank goodness, have a jacket and boots and with this little Davida on. I did, thank goodness, have that going on, and a backpack, which totally saved my bacon and it saved my butt literally because it took the brunt of the impact. However, my pants kind of got scooted down, so I got a bunch of road rash on my butt and my thighs and my lower back. But I didn't break any bones. I walked home from it because I was around the corner from my house. Like I was literally, when they say accidents happen, right, like what's the statistic you guys tell me? It's something about most accidents happen within a mile of your house. Well, this is totally true. I was just around the corner from my house. I almost made it. But I was okay. I ended up going after the fact to the hospital and getting some x-rays and stuff, but I was all right. But we ended up hitting up the driver who went to jail for the night, of course. I ended up hitting up and going to court, and he had to pay to fix my bike. And so because of that pay to fix my bike, I kind of decided, hey Jeff, I know butt road rash is the worst. Yeah, it was actually really, really heavy. Road rash is really very, very, very painful, and you have to come home and scrub it out. Like it is a total bummer. But I'm grateful I didn't break any bones. I'm grateful things weren't worse. But speaking of butts, but instead of fixing my bike, which is a no-no, I went ahead and bought another bike because I was not going to let this stop, my motorcycling and my love of motorcycles. And that's when I found it online because right around kind of the same time frame, I went to Mid Ohio and the brand for the year was BMW. So I had never really looked at BMWs, honestly. This is the early 2000s. These were still considered super nerdy, dorky old man bikes, and nobody young was riding them. They were like, no way, not cool, super not cool at all. Um, but I saw these badges on them because BMW for years, if you could record the mileage, you could send it into BMW Corporation and get these badges awarding 500,000, 750,000, 1,000,000 miles on a bike. And so I was just so mind blown that you could ride a bike for 1,000,000 miles. I'm like, well, that means you can tour on a bike for 1,000,000 miles. And that's what I really wanted to do because I've always loved to travel. So what I really wanted to do was figure out how to get a bigger bike and how to travel with that bike because the 305 just wasn't going to cut the mustard. So it created this kind of unfortunate but perfect storm to go look for that BMW. And so I got on eBay of all places and tracked down a bike in central Illinois. It wasn't too far from my dad's place of work, and bought it sight unseen. I had never ridden a BMW. I had never even sat on a BMW. I knew nothing about BMW. But if you're gonna be dumb, you better be tough, is what my dad always said. So I just bought this bike and I'm like, I'm just gonna figure it out. Like I don't care what has to happen. Like I'm gonna figure this thing out. So my dad went and picked it up for me, which was really nice, and brought it to me, dropped it off. And I figured it out and started taking all the crappy tour parts. Like it had this huge windjammer fairing, and it had this ugly king and queen seat, which now I would love to have because it just is so ugly. I wish I still would have kept it. And just learned to ride it and love it. And I had a little bit of money left over from the accident. Like I said, that insurance like settlement. I didn't like win $1,000,000. It wasn't that, but it was it was like 5 or 8 grand or something. So after the hospital bills, I had basically like through 3,500 to 4 grand left over. 3 of it went to go buy that bike, and then the other 1,500 or whatever, I was like, I'm out of here, and packed up a backpack with like a toothbrush and some socks and some underwear, and just started jumping on the bike and going to all these different vintage racing events with the race company, the race club race organization called ARMA, which is a vintage motorcycle racing association. And I started going and watching these races, and that's when I met a bunch of racers who kind of took me under their wing, and they were like, "Why the hell are you here? Why are you just hanging around riding this old bike here? And why are you not racing?" And I just fell in love with this vintage community, and I just have loved it ever since. And I've kept in touch with a lot of these people. We're still totally good friends to this day. It just opened up this whole new world and this whole new family to me. And so all of this happened because of this one little white bike, this one little 64 Honda Dream 305. Edgar, yes, that's what we were talking about. We were talking about first bikes out here. So what is some of your first bikes? So that's kind of my today's Wayback Wednesday story. But more importantly, let me know in the comments, what was your first bike? Are you still riding your first bike? Do you have your first bike? Did you sell your first bike and you're totally bummed you sold your first bike? That's the more common thing I hear from people all the time. Jennifer Sky, yes. Oh dear, not good. Good to see you're okay. Yes, Jennifer Sky, I am totally a-okay. I just had some nasty road rash, like I said, and I still have the bike. Actually, it's in my backyard to this day. I keep meaning to fix it and put it back together, and I just don't. But now I really think, hopefully, in the next year, I really will get it together and put it back together. And the metal needed to be straightened out, and it's a unibody, so it's kind of complicated, but I think I've got enough either skills or friends with skills now to figure out how to put it back together. So I think that's going to be yet another project for this coming year, on top of all the other 500 million projects I have going on. So outstanding story. Tell us more stories about your motorcycle life. John Hill, thank you so much. I super appreciate that. So yeah, so that is kind of the theme for, I think, for my Wednesday shows from now on, is I think it's going to be Wayback Wednesday. I think I'm just going to make myself a cup of coffee, or it's hot tea for today. I'm not going to lie. It's a little bit of hot tea. I already had 2 big cups of coffee, and Lord knows I don't need any more caffeine. So I'm a bit of a mint tea, herbal tea kind of gal. So that's what I've been working on during today's show. But yeah, so I think that's what we're going to talk about. I'm just going to kind of throw up a photo and see what do you guys think about that, and if you guys want to talk back and tell me, this is our time to chat, is what I want this show to be about. For the past 5 years, I've been really talking at you, which is cool, and I hope I've educated you and we've had a good time and I've shown you some kick-ass stuff, and I mean, I like to think I have, but I want to hear back too. Like, let's engage together. And don't forget, please do hit that share button. And right next door to it is the stars button. That is how we virtually tip each other and keep the lights on around here. If you like today's show, go ahead and throw me some stars. I appreciate it. I will start giving a little bit of extra love and mentioning and putting in the shows a little bit my top star senders. So there is a little bit of a reward, a little bit of a high five for going on ahead and sending me those stars. And they're like 5 cents each. Go crazy. Send me a couple hundred stars. Go nuts. They do make a difference. The only reason I bring that up is because I had this awesome talk with Zach, who's the boss here in Choppertown, yesterday, and he has been sending me some of the virtual tip money, some of those stars that are coming through for the past, I'm not gonna lie, like 10 months now, because I have not been really working like at all. So it's definitely helped. We really, really appreciate it. It does make a difference. It does all add up at the end of the month. So thank you so much for sending them, but go ahead and hit that button. So John Hill, you'll be here every Wednesday. Thank you. I think I will be too. Who else? 1968 Norton. Goodness, Dan Benson. Dan Benson bringing the heat with this kick-ass Norton out here. That's super cool. Who else? Let's see who's in here. I just had somebody that I had to throw to the wolves and delete that comment. Usually the rest of you guys are all pretty nice though, so I know that you hang in here and you're pretty nice, but occasionally we gotta throw the band hammer and throw some deletes on here, so that's okay. I can edit. I can take care of it. So what else is going on? Tell me your first bikes, guys. Dan Benson already shared what his first bike is, that 68 Norton, which was super, super, super rad. Good for you. Let's see here. Bam. There we go. But that's going to be today's show. That's what we're talking about here. It's just a little bit about, first bikes, and if you still have your first bikes, go ahead and throw it in the comments and tell me what your first bike was, and tell me how much you regret selling it. Dan Benson, do you regret selling that Norton, or do you still have it? Do you still have that Norton? That would be rad. I only bring this up like in a joking, lighthearted way because I've got so many friends that sell their first bikes, or there's always this talk when we get together and kick tires and have beers or whatever about like the one that got away. There's always that conversation. So maybe you had one that got away too. But I just wanted to let you know also, so that's kind of the thought process for today's show. Just talking about, some Wayback Wednesday stuff. Lord knows I just went through my computer. Like I said, I was looking for photos for Michael Lichter and Chris Summer Simmons. And there's I think there's like 20,000 pictures, 20,000 pictures in my hard drives, my independent hard drive. So, I have plenty of photos to pick from. So this is what I think. This is the new spin. This is how we're gonna roll on this show on Wednesdays. I think we're still, of course, gonna talk about some events and some stuff during the week. Also, I usually do 2 shows a week on here, but one of these shows I want to be a little bit more casual, a little bit lighter, not so heavy on production and stuff. It is difficult producing 2 shows a week with photos and slides and effects and videos and the news and what's happening. And I'm a one woman army out here, so it's just kind of a lot. So I think that we're going to do a little bit of this. First bike was in 1967, says John Hill. 1966 BSA Scrambler. Dope. Very cool bike, John Hill. Very cool bike. But that's what we're going to get into. But as far as what I'm going to be getting into also, and I would love to see you, I did have some folks at Daytona come and say hey to me. So you're always welcome to come say hey to me at my events. This weekend I will be in Shipshewana. Somebody correct me on that. I can't remember what the hell it's called. Oh wait, hold on. I've got my iPad. I got all the devices. Hang on a second. I got all the devices here. Let's see if I can find it. There we go. Shipshewana. I said Shipshewana earlier. Shipshewana, Indiana is where I'm going to be this weekend at the MEC, the Michiana Event Center. This is an indoor dirt track. So super rare, super rad, indoors. You're not going to freeze your buns off. And by you, I mean me. I'm not going to freeze my buns off either, which I'm really excited about. It is some quad and motorcycle racing Friday and Saturday. So you're not going to miss Easter. You can still make it home for the Easter Bunny. Shipshewana, Indiana. I'm going to be announcing those races. And then next week on Wednesday, I fly out and I go down to Fort Myers, to the BMW dealership in Fort Myers. Then I'm staying through and going to the beach for 3 or 4 days, which I'm really excited about. And then I'm going to the Miami BMW, and I'll be at BMW of Miami. Not this week, not next week, but 3 weeks from now, I will be at BMW in Miami. So I'm going to be gone almost this entire month. So it also just makes my life a little easier to change this show up a little bit and do something a little bit more casual like this. Because that way I can maybe still do these on the road, and when I won't have my laptop and the whole rigmarole and all the production and all that jazz. So that's what's going on out here, guys. The new show, Wayback Wednesday. Welcome to it. Feel free to go ahead, jump in the comments, say hey, let me know about that first bikes. I want to hear from you. I am going to be jumping off because I've got some errands and things to run and things to do for the rest of today to get ready for my big trip on Friday. But I will see you guys. I'll open up the camera hopefully while I'm at the event. Nothing too huge, but just maybe a little walk through the pits. So make sure you come on back and come check out that show. Live racing is coming back, so that means I'm going to have more work booked and be out at events and be with motorcycles. And so I can also bring you some shows with some actual motorcycles in them as opposed to just me and pictures and my wiener dogs. Although all those things are very kick-ass, so you should not feel short-sighted because all those things are rad. But thank you so much for tuning in, everybody. I super appreciate you guys. Thank you for sending stars. If you sent stars, again, that stars are our digital tip out here. It is how we keep the lights on. They do add up. So feel free to throw me a couple hundred stars during each show and hit that share button. Thanks, guys, so much. Have a great day. I will see you from I keep forgetting it. Shipshewana. I don't know why I can't remember that name. I'll see you from Shipshewana this weekend. Even better, if you're in the Midwest, come and see this event. It is live. It is open to spectators. You can come and see some rad racing. It's quads and bikes. If you've never watched quads race, by the way, it is crazy town. It is super exciting. It is crazy dangerous. It is completely bonkers. I'm totally in love with it. I had never had the chance to see it until I went to Tampa and worked with the same company, RPM Promotions, and it was just rad, and I'm totally hooked on it now, and I can't wait to announce this race. So if you're in the tri-state, Michigan, Indiana, Illinois area, or even in the Midwest-ish, come on out. 2 days of kick-ass racing. The tickets are super, super cheap, and it's going to be a hell of a good time. So that's today's show. Thank you so much for tuning in, everybody, to your first annual Wayback Wednesday. I will see you guys next week. The show will probably be on Tuesday because I'm traveling on Wednesday. It'll probably be Tuesday. So hit the notifications on button because you're not going to want to miss it. Thanks again, everybody. Have a great day. I'll see you next week. Thank you so much to my show partners, Vroom or Track Vac, VroomYourRoom.com. Pick yourself up a kick-ass table lamp from me, Jacqui Van Ham at KentuckyBuilt.com. I build these here in my workshop. Thank you so much to Choppertown tuning in, clicking, liking, and sharing all of these videos. BMW Motorrad, my event partner at Daytona, and coming up later on this month. Thank you to my friends over at Torque Helmets for the helmet hookup while I was at Daytona. If you are shopping, go check out Torque Helmets. My event partner coming up in May, the Get On MotoFest, Texas Motor Speedway, May 21st, 22nd, and 23rd. Have a great day, everybody. I'll see you from Shipshewana.